Hey, everybody, it is Friday night. It is the Quantum Wellbeing Show. I almost fell off my stool. That would have been a great opening, right? And I am so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. We may go over our 30-minute mark tonight because my guest is she's a returning guest, and I'm so grateful that she's with us because what we have to talk about tonight is so incredibly important. But as always, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your lively chat. And, thank you for subscribing. Cheryl and I were talking before we came on the air, and we were saying that, sometimes, we're out there and other people, our peers, can see how much we're doing, the changes that we're making, but we don't always get to hear from the people that we're helping make changes in. So if you feel like these shows are helping you or increasing your well-being, please click the like button and subscribe so that you can not miss one of these incredible shows. And let us know, let us know if we're making a difference, because it's so in our hearts. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Conscious Awakening Network. You can see my show streaming over there. You can see our Tuesday night show for Broadcast Team Alpha streaming over there too. And there's all kinds of really cool people over there. Amazing hosts, amazing shows. It's quite a remarkable platform that they're really, really expanding into. I'm really impressed, and it's an honor to be co-creating with them. So I just want to do a shout out and invite you to go take a peek over there. And I do want to invite you to our Tuesday night show, Broadcast Team Alpha, right here, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central. No, 5 p.m. Pacific. So I have to warn you guys, I just got out of the car. I've been driving all day and my blood sugar is a little wonky. So I have to warn you in advance. So I can't even see Cheryl's, bless my heart here. I can't even see Cheryl's beautiful bio because my new lighting is so hot. All right, let me tell you about my amazing guest. First of all, I want to tell you from my heart of hearts, I'm so grateful that Cheryl is here with us, because not only from being a nurse, but from being on the planet for all of the years that I've been on the planet. And because of some of the things that I went through, some of us just have a path in life that's a little bit more challenging than others. And, mine started out that way. Mine started out that way at birth, and true to form, it kind of continued that way through up until about 3 years ago, and everything finally began to coalesce, and things began to make so much sense. And a lot of what I went through physically has brought me to this place of being a healer. And I think that that's true for our guest tonight, but I'm going to let her talk about it. Healer. Our guest tonight is the amazing Cheryl Meyer, also known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. Love her name. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to get close because I can't see. So Cheryl, like many of us, has an autoimmune disease. She eliminated toxins and reversed her pain. Now, if you've not had autoimmune, if you haven't had chronic pain, oh my God, or fibromyalgia, you have no idea. They're just beginning to hook men up to these electrodes now to show what menstrual cramps feel like. Well, multiply that times a godzillion for chronic pain. So Cheryl reversed her pain, and she now teaches others with chronic illness how to make lifestyle changes that will improve their health also. Cheryl has a BA from UC Berkeley, and she is a health coach, of course. Cheryl is an award-winning author, a coach, a speaker, a magazine publisher, an educator, a podcaster. Cheryl writes articles in numerous magazines, including, I love the name of this, Brains, Brainz magazine, an international digital magazine where she was named Brains 500 Influential Leader for 2020. Cheryl has 125 podcast episodes on YouTube, Apple, Google. Some of them are really deep dives into health topics, which I'm hoping we're going to take a deep dive tonight. Some are interviews with others who, like Cheryl, had chronic illness, who owned it and adopted healthier habits, allowing herself and others to return to their well-being. Cheryl did these podcasts to bring about her listeners' hope, to bring about hope for all of her listeners. Cheryl helps clients discover that the foundation for health is in eating from the pharmacy. That's with an F. Pharmacy, whole organic foods from as close to the farm as possible. We need the essential nutrients. We need the phytonutrient gifts of a diverse range of fruits and vegetables to get the correct code to operate our bodies. Cheryl's mission is to change the way America eats. God knows we need it. So I'm just going to thank you, Cheryl, for being here. Before we end, we're going to talk about all of the places that you can reach Cheryl. But if you like to check out the website while we're talking, I'd rather you pay attention to us, but that's okay. You can go to CherylMHealthMuse.com, CherylMHealthMuse.com. Cheryl, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I love to talk about this, and I adore you. So we're going to have a great conversation.
I know. I'm so excited. And what's really been coming up a lot for me right now is I just finished a body and a brain boost, and now I'm doing a month long mind body convergence stretch, and I can't help but talk about food along with it because it goes hand in hand. And what I keep hearing myself say to people is that when you really, 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 really nourish your cells, the adipose tissues, the fat cells fall away. Is that true?
Yes. And let me give you my example. I kept gaining weight. And no matter what, I bought every New York Times bestseller that was available. I did Nutrisystem. I did Jenny Craig. I did Weight Watchers. I did them all. And guess what? None of them worked. But in reality, I didn't think any of them were going to work when I started them. I wasn't doing them to do something long term. I was doing something to get weight off. So when I got sick, and the first naturopath that I went to see said, for God's sake, start eating real whole foods that make them organic because your body cannot handle the toxins. It was kind of like I could have had a V8 because it took a while for my body to adjust and come back into balance. And I have come to the conclusion, health is balance for a variety of reasons. Because we need our vibration to be right and the food vibration has to be right. And we are never going to get that from the standard American diet because there's nothing in it to feed our body's health. It is pure chemicals. So when you start eating real whole foods, and the rest of my phrase is as close to the farm as possible, because they begin to lose their nutrients the minute they're harvested. And I'll give you an example of that. Spinach starts to lose its phytonutrients in 3 days. That doesn't mean that if it's 2 weeks old, you don't eat it, because it still has tons of goodies in it. But if you really want to harness what that plant food has, you need to get it close to when it's harvested. And the best way to do that, no matter where you are in the country right now, is to go to a farmer's market, because they pick that produce the night before. They can tell you what they do to keep bugs off of it. because you don't want things with pesticides or herbicides. Sides mean kills, and they kill something in us when we eat them. But I have relationships with my farmers at all my farmers markets, and they get excited when there's something new to show me. And Big Food and Big Ag are growing food. Only Big Ag is only growing food for how it looks and how long it lasts on the shelf. They don't care how nutritious it is. They don't care if it tastes good. The farmers who are doing the little farms that are bringing their wares to the farmers markets, they're keeping our diversity alive, which we desperately need, because the magic happens when all the different fruits and vegetables from all the different color families come together in our body and they have a little party, and that's what creates health. So you want things as close to the farm as possible, and cooking is non-negotiable.
Yeah,
now, I have clients who go, I don't want to cook. You have to cook. And believe it or not, I can cook faster than I can jump in the car and go through a McDonald's window. It does not take that long to cook. You just have to get the rhythm.
Exactly. Exactly. And
I get up in the morning, I take out food, and I know what I'm going to cook it. Bing, bang, half an hour, and I have dinner on the table.
I love that. And for some people, that's going to be a discipline in the beginning until they make it a lifestyle. But I can't help but believe that after X amount of time of preparing and eating and noticing and eating and noticing and eating and noticing, then fall off, right? Fall off, go back to your own ways, see how bad you feel, right?
You don't want to feel lousy.
Right? Then you come back.
Yeah, it's really non-negotiable.
Right? Then it's
because I'm not giving this up.
Exactly.
And this is the big part where I was headed and I didn't get to it. I've lost 65 pounds without dieting at all. My husband, who I met because I needed someone to go on a get well journey with me, and the guy I was with long term refused to change how he ate. And I knew I had to change or I wasn't going to get well. And I was so sick that getting out of bed was painful. I do have fibromyalgia, and every joint and every muscle in my body hurt. I had brain fog, and I was more tired when I got up than when I went to bed. All those things. Had terrible skin rashes, you name it. I had the whole catalog. So by eating real food, you start, it took me 63 years to get where I was. So it doesn't happen overnight. But within the first 4 weeks, your body starts to celebrate, and it tells you that it's starting to feel better. Now, you may not lose weight in the first, but it doesn't take long. And if you keep eating real food, it starts to drop the weight. And the whole reason is because your body, because of our paleo days, when it's not getting any nutrition, which it's not getting from the standard American diet because there's no nutrition in it. It's all chemicals that are made to look, smell, taste, sound like the real thing, but there's nothing real about it. So eating that, our body's not getting any nutrition. So it's holding on to every little morsel it gets and says, I'm not giving anything up because you're not giving me what I need. And so when you start to consistently give your body all of the nutrition and all of the phytonutrients, which is really emerging science. When I started 10 years ago, they thought there were 5,000 phytonutrients, then 10,000, then 20,000. Now they're talking 100,000. And those are all chemicals that are in the plant that nature or God or whatever you believe in put into the plant, not for us, but to protect itself. So it'll ward off animals from eating it. It will help it stay healthy. It will communicate with its family members that are close to it. All those phytonutrients then have incredible gifts for us. And the color of the fruit or vegetable, which is vibration, color is vibration, the color will denote what the gifts of the plant are, which is why you need all of them. That's amazing. I'm serious when I say they get together and they have a good time, because you start to feel better when you know it. I can feel it almost going through my body.
Absolutely. So let's just for the people who may finally be inspired tonight and begin tomorrow. So tomorrow they're going to get the best fruit and vegetables that they can. let's talk them through that. And this is why you should have Cheryl as a coach. I'm a transformational coach, and I can't even see my people doing as well as they do without having a coach, because this isn't something that we intuitively know. Can we learn it and make it our own? Yes. But so Cheryl, for the people who are going to begin, in the beginning, it's not going to be 4th of July, right? Have a party in my mouth the first day. It's going to be awkward, right? Things are going to taste a little weird.
And all that food has dulled your taste buds. You don't even taste food anymore. Big food, big agriculture, big pharma, they don't want us to get off of us. So all those chemicals that they're giving us, they have dulled our taste buds, so we don't taste the food. There is fake flavorings in the food because it would taste god-awful without them. So not only have they dulled our taste buds, but they're putting things in there that are kind of supercharging our taste buds, but there's no nutrition there. And I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the old, I bet you can't eat just one commercial by Lay's potato chip. Well, they do that on purpose. They want you to eat one and then crave it, no matter how full you are. They have done something which I had no idea about. They have turned off 2 hormones I never heard of called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin and ghrelin are appetite hormones, so we don't even get the signal in our head that we're done eating. So we keep eating. I used to eat a big Thanksgiving dinner, and then I go in the kitchen, I was picking on the pumpkin pie.
Exactly.
Anymore. I eat the food I want to eat.
Yeah.
And it tastes delicious. When you get off, you have to break the addiction. I call it Hooked. In fact, there is a book out called Hooked, where somebody who was in the food industry wrote about all the addictions that all those chemicals have to hook us into them. So you have to break the addiction, and that's not easy in the beginning. A couple of reasons. You might even have candida, so that when you pull off of the sugar and the chemicals, you have die-off of candida, which is sort of like getting the flu. I was in bed for 5 days. I would have sworn I had the flu, but it passes. When you get over that, though, you start to be home free because your hormones all start to reset. And it's not just your leptin and your ghrelin, it's all your feel-good hormones. You know, there's a lot of conversation right now that our teenagers are depressed. It's because of what they're eating. Our government seems to think it's because social media, and maybe social media has something to say about it. I don't know. But the food that we're eating, that our kids are eating, and that their parents are eating are turning off the dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone, the serotonin, which is in our gut and in our brain, which is our happy hormone, the GABA, which is our anxiety hormone. So we're feeling fretful and anxious and all that. That's all directly a result of the standard American diet. And it turns off our oxytocin, which, believe it or not, we make some of on our own. So this isn't the that they say comes over the border. This is the oxytocin that we make, and that's the pleasure hormone. So when you start to eat real food, all of those hormones, including your insulin, reset and start to function so that your hormones are not all over the place with your insulin, and all your happiness hormones come in. And all of a sudden you start feeling darn good, not only because of the food you're eating, but because your hormones are supporting you.
Yes. And the hooked part is important to talk about, because in my Body and Brain Boost, I think, I don't know, maybe 3 out of 8 people chose to stop doing sugar during our time together. And that was not a comfortable time. You know, it's an emotionally uncomfortable time. It's a physically uncomfortable time. If you have candida, if you have parasites, which that's the new thing now, right?
Because they eat that.
they're going to make you crave the sugar even more. So, I want us to tell the truth tonight and to say, in the beginning, it's not going to be so comfortable. It's not going to be unicorn and shooting stars, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it to finally get to the point where you take a bite out of a beet and go, oh my God, I had no idea that a beet could taste like this.
First, they call me I have a class called Ditch the Standard American Diet. So students go in, and in the beginning, they're all calling me from the grocery store. Can I eat this? Send me the copy of the label. No, you can't eat that. You can't eat that. It doesn't meet any of the criteria. And so they really want to eat it, but they don't. They're allowed to take the class a second time because there's so much information in it, and I don't charge any money for round 2. Round 2, they're calling me from the farmer's market, and they're going, oh my God, I just ate a grown tomato and I can't believe how delicious it is. But you know what really got me? I ate a slice of cucumber and oh my God, was that delicious.
Exactly.
We don't even have a clue what we're missing that is out there that feeds our bodies, that was put on this earth for our bodies. Exactly. And we're ignoring it and we're not appreciating it. And when you get through the addiction, and sugar, by the way, interrupts every single organ in your body, including your brain. It mucks your brain all up so you don't have strategic thinking. It's making our children have a hard time learning how to read. So illiteracy and dyslexia is directly connected to it. ADHD is directly connected to sugar. So when you start to eat all this real food for a better future, they feel great. And all those issues start to, it's so important. And for a child, the most important thing is that their parents eat healthy because they're little pitchers. They will copy whatever their parents do.
That's right. That's right. That's so true. And I just learned that there's a pediatric psychiatric emergency going on right now, because of everything that happened during the mandatory stay-at-home thing. But also, it has to be food-driven, Cheryl. I mean, I'm going to be very transparent. I ended up in the hospital 3 times with colitis. I mean, sick as a dog. 3 times. Do you know what preceded my admission? Steak.
Yeah, your body couldn't handle it.
But not just that, right? They're putting the meat glue in steaks now, and right, all of that. I quit eating.
Unless meat that the animal is supposed to eat, which means cows have 2 stomachs. They're supposed to eat grass. They are not supposed to eat corn, and they're not supposed to have glue making them hold together. Right. They're supposed to eat grass. And they go directly to the butcher eating grass, and they're humanely treated. And there is regenerative farming where you can find that. Chickens are not supposed to shoulder in the barn. So don't tell me they're cage free. Doesn't matter. They have a miserable life. They take their little beaks off so they can't other. Chickens are supposed to be in the field running around eating bugs and berries and grass. And that they're skinnier, but they're healthy, and they taste like you can't believe. And I'm a foodie. So let me tell you, once you start to taste how really quality food tastes, you also don't want to give it up.
It's amazing. It's so good. It's so good. But let's go back for the people who are beginning. So where do you start them out? I mean, I know just looking at labels is a big deal.
Huge. I start by sending out something I call the rules of engagement. It tells them to go through their house, and anything with a word on it that they can't pronounce or that they don't know what it is goes into a bin and goes out into the garage. Because for at least 2 weeks, I don't want them going near that food. They have to break it. And if it's not in front of them, it's less likely that they're going to eat it. Whether it's in the refrigerator or on the counter or in the pantry, it all goes into a great big bin. I used to buy them at Target or at Walmart, and they get out of the house. And then I provide a snack list of approved snacks that you're allowed to eat. But they all have specifics. Like you're allowed to eat nuts, but not nuts that are done in omega-6 GMO oils, which means it has BT toxin right in it. You buy your nuts organic, and I roast my own in a fry pan, and they're delicious that way. So I put a little tiny bit of ghee because I'm dairy sensitive, so I can have ghee but not butter. Just a tiny little bit. I roast them, and they go in a big baggie, and that's snack food. And all of the healthy snacks go on the counter and on the eye level of your refrigerator shelf, so that I had somebody call me the second week of my program and go, there's nothing to eat on this. There's a huge long, it's just not the, excuse my language, crap, carbonated, refined, artificial processed stuff that they've been eating. So if you get that right at eye level and right on the counter, that's where you go. And there's all kinds of yummy things to eat. So that's where you start. You only buy quality ingredients. And I go through what those are. You get off of all the white stuff, which means no sugar, no flour. We eat an exorbitant amount of that as a public, and that white flour all turns to sugar. So at least while you're going through the detox and you're pulling off of the addiction, that stuff's out of range. You don't want that stuff. And the sooner you break the addiction, the quicker you can start adding little tiny bits of fun things back into your diet. So it's worth it
like
to
what?
do it.
Like what would that be?
I cook, I bake cookies sometimes with almond flour. And I use coconut sugar because it's a very low glycemic sugar. And I am diabetic, although I've gone from, I think, 8.8 all the way down to 6, which means I'm borderline dropping out of being diabetic at all. Exactly. And I think the reason I haven't gone out altogether is because I still have some mold in my body. But it lowers your glycemic load, which you want to do. But in the beginning, even coconut sugar could trigger you to want to eat sugar. So you got to pull away from all the sugars, and then you start to add little bits of things back in. And there's all kinds of fun things when you get your taste bud back. And I do a whole list. I did a cookbook for the detox period. So you have recipes to cook that are easy for you. They're not my recipes, but I talk about where to source the information, where to source the ingredients, and how to do the cooking. Because I've learned all kinds of crazy things like garlic, you mince it up 15 minutes before you use it so that all its chemicals can mix so you get the full benefit of them when you cook with it and the heat doesn't kill them. And there's lots of things like that that are just will help your body thrive. So you learn all of that in my class, but you first have to get off of the sugar and the chemicals, and the chemicals are as addictive as the sugar is. So together it's a double whammy. And in the beginning, when you pull away from the sugar, you might get depressed because your body, what happens is you eat the sugar, it goes up, it lights up all your feel-good hormones, especially your GABA and your dopamine. Then it starts to go down and you go, ooh, I'm not feeling so good. I'm not feeling so happy. I have to eat more sugar. So you eat more sugar and then it lights it up again. They call it like a pinball machine. If you pull all the way away from sugar and those evil chemicals, and they are evil, they're disgusting, then you come back to balance and that stops happening. So then you start feeling good all the time. Your relationships improve. Everything improves because you're even Steven and your hormones are just making you happy. You get up happy. You go through your day happy. That depression stuff all goes out the window, and it's all directly connected to food. I did 4 podcasts on depression. You went deep dive.
Wow.
I started off with, if you are depressed, sure, some help. So go to the shrink or go to a therapist, depending upon whether you think it's chemical or it's trauma. But while you're doing that, start to change your food so that you support your body, because you don't want to go to them forever. And all the psychiatric ducts, they stop working over time. So you'll start off feeling better, but you won't stay feeling better unless you adopt all the healthy habits. And there's vitamins that'll help you with your moods. Getting out and walking will help you with your moods because you release your adrenaline. There's all kinds of things that will raise your moods, but you control it all and you don't need anybody's permission to do it. So all of my podcasts are on YouTube and you can go listen. There's 4 of them and they are loaded with great information. So that if you know anybody who's depressed, get them to listen to this, or you listen and try to help maneuver them through the maze that they're in. People who are depressed probably aren't going to tell you. So you need to know the signs, and then you need to help however you can. And that's not by dictating to somebody. That's by making loving suggestions to try to get them headed in the right direction.
Yes. And I love that you have so much personal experience besides, the didactic knowledge, but you have so much personal experience that, as a nurse, I would feel really comfortable coming to you and allowing you to guide me through this, because when I work with people, I work with people who are just like right on the brink of making a big change. So they're usually like at a little bit of a crisis point. So that's my reference point. So I'm going to change gears here. When I'm thinking about our conversation, I'm thinking about where is the beginning for the people that come to you, right? There's people who say, oh yeah, I want to change. But it starts with that honest in your gut, in your soul intention. I want to get healthy.
Most people who come to me are in the sick and tired of being sick and tired phase.
Yes.
And that was me. Universe tried to tell me I had my own business. I was a jeweler. I was flying back and forth to Asia, back and forth to the East Coast to see customers. I was selling people like Macy's and JCPenney. I was doing everything to make my business successful except practice self-care. So the universe started to tell me, you need to pay attention because you're not feeling so hot. So first I got the little poke in the arm. I ignored it. Went through my head with the speed of light. I have amazing ability to push through things. So the second time, the universe came and gave me the NCIS slap across my face. I might have had a little trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I'd look in the mirror and I'd be all puffy. I go, ooh, this is not going to be a pretty day. Wonder what's causing that. Well, that's inflammation. I have 34 ways to know if you are dealing with the beginnings of inflammation, which are the 34 things I missed and wasn't paying any attention. And then the 2x4 came down. I could no longer ignore it. I couldn't get out of bed. I had a very well-trained staff, thank God. But literally, at first I thought I had the flu. But on the fourth day, I went, this is obviously not the flu. I have no head cold, no nothing. So I started going to my doctor, and we ran tests 4 times. She was a regular allopathic doctor, and she called me and said, guess what? There's nothing wrong with you. I said, that's ludicrous. Because I know my body, and something has gone completely haywire. I said, so I'm going to research, and I'm going to find it. And she said, you'll be back. And I said, no, I probably won't. Bye. But both of my parents had unusual diseases, and I had done a lot of research for them. My dad had a very rare form of epilepsy, and my mother got something called multiple system atrophy, which at the time they thought was related to Parkinson's, and then they thought, no, it was related to mad cow disease of all things.
Oh my God.
And then they came back and said, no, it's related to Parkinson's. So there was only one guy in Southern California who knew anything about multiple system atrophy. So I went into the medical journals. Didn't always know what I was reading, but I picked up enough that I could converse with them. One doctor looked at me and said, who's the doctor? I said, who's the doctor? I said, how many patients do you have? I only have one mother. Let me participate in her well-being. She was supposed to live 1 year. She lived 10.
Wow.
So, and when she died, he called me and said, I was scared to death you were going to sue me in the beginning, but thank God your mother had a daughter like you, because she had a much better life because you were so active in her well-being.
Yes.
So and you can find a whole lot on the internet if you set your mind that you're going to own it, and then you're going to make the changes that you think will make the difference.
And you can, but I'm thinking back to being a really busy ICU emergency room nurse, right? My face was swollen, my skin was pink, my joints were red, right? My shoulders killed me, Cheryl. But you know what? I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to think about it until I ended up in bed. So for all of the people like that, or like how it began for Cheryl, or
I didn't do it till I was over the edge. There's something called toxic load. The sooner you do it, the better. But it doesn't matter how bad you are, you can improve your health. It is never too late to adopt healthy habits. And a lot of people will come to me and say, I don't have time to do the research, but I see that you have found most of your puzzle pieces. Will you help me find mine? And sure,
yes,
I'm not a doctor, but I am constantly reading probably 25 or 30 functional practitioners and all the latest things that they are talking about. And I only suggest lifestyle change. I will never tell you to take a drug because that's not my bailiwick, but you can make an incredible difference with your health just by adopting what I call my 20 pillars of health. And I think the most important one is food. The second most important one for me was stress. I was so stressed out that I needed to be successful with all these crazy big customers, and they were shrinking. They were swallowing each other up, so there were less and less of them. I was so busy doing that, I thought it made me get more done. It actually, I was down to almost no cortisol in my body at all, which is Addison's disease.
Wow.
So when I started researching, I actually started with stress, and I started doing yoga. And I started to learn how to breathe, because if you breathe consciously, you can reset your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
And that will, it took me a year, but my cortisol built back up. So the brain fog went away and my total exhaustion went away, which was all connected to my stress. But the second thing I did was dig into food. I didn't understand food. I didn't know why we should eat organic. GMO had been on the ballot in California. I had no clue what it meant, except that it failed. And it failed because there was so much misinformation about it. So I dug into learning about food. And from there, I dug into toxins. I looked up every ingredient of every product I used and traded it out for something much lower toxin. There are easier ways to purge the toxins now. I just published a magazine, and an environmental scientist wrote an article on her Toss the Toxin course, which takes you a day, and you get all that stuff. You put it in the bin. I put all that bad food in, and you get it out of your house. Because even if you just buy a newer product that's less toxic and you leave the old one in your house, it's off-gassing and it's poisoning you.
Wow.
And the worst thing in your house is your laundry detergent. And if those little pods, if a toddler bit into one of those pods, you probably can't even get them to emergency. That's how toxic they are. Perfumes are loaded with toxin. Although Michelle Pfeiffer just came out with one that is non-toxic and completely approved by EWG, which is the big organization in the sky with the huge database you look all this stuff up in. And they smell great.
Oh, good. So, finally. And plus the stuff that we put on our skin, that goes in. It goes in. We have to think of that.
Your biggest organ.
Exactly. But Cheryl, tell us the name of your new magazine.
My new magazine, I actually have it right here. It is available for free in a digital form. Go here. And it's called Feels Good to Feel Good. You can see it is not a little magazine. What I wanted to do, I see both a functional doctor and a naturopath. I wanted to present many different avenues to health, because if you're not getting the answers that you need, don't stop. So my functional doctor wrote about why she's passionate about functional medicine. My naturopath wrote about why he is so passionate about the way he approaches health and the body. And he has his own supplement line that won't do any harm to the body because naturopaths really strongly believe no harm. There's two women. She had a back surgery and then had another one, and they were both botched. So she ended up here in Sedona. I have two homes. I'm in Sedona at the moment. There's a 150-acre reserve here that's run by a Tao master. They ended up out there learning all the holistic methods to health. They ended up inviting people from all over the world in to go through the program that she was going through. And they made a documentary about it, which has now won several awards. And it's called Love Heals. So they wrote an article in the magazine. There are 3 articles on toxins. Marilee, who came up with a 1 on the scale cleaning fluid that's plant enzymes. I love the stuff. It's called Branch Basics. I do my laundry, my kitchen counters, my toilets, my floors. This stuff will clean anything. And I have cats. And I lost all 3 of my kitties when I was sick, and it finally occurred to me they were also living in a toxic soup. Well, now my kitties are happy and they're eating quality food and they're going to live long, healthy lives. But Branch Basics is a pillar for me because I'm like an alarm that goes off for any chemical in a 50-mile radius. So.
Yeah. The canary in the coal mine, right? So I just... my mouth is watering because I keep thinking back to some of the pictures that I see you post on social media. And you posted a sandwich that was made with like all these layers of vegetables. Cheryl, what was that? I want one so bad.
And believe it or not, that post has, I think, 5 different sandwiches, all in the rainbow colors, all with the vegetables. And it is on bread, but I only eat organic bread because, believe it or not, one of the worst toxins you can get in your body is sprayed on our conventional wheat. And it's not just sprayed, they're drenched because something happens to the wheat. Number one, the wheat isn't that tall flowing stuff. When I was a kid, it's a little short pygmy plant. And they pour glyphosate, which is Roundup, on it because it puts the plant into apoplexy and it throws out more fronds. So they get a bigger yield, but they don't wash any of the glyphosate off. And we learned 2 years ago that they've known for 20 years that glyphosate causes cancer. And a man with lymphoma won his lawsuit. Bayer was buying Roundup from Monsanto when that happened, and they've now paid out $20 billion to people who have been harmed by glyphosate. They're still spraying it on our food. So if you ever wonder if it's important to eat organic, there's something called the Dirty Dozen. You start there. You never buy something on the Dirty Dozen list unless it is organic. But I'm to the point where I don't want any of it unless it's organic. There's another website. EWG will tell you what's the dirtiest, and then they tell you what's the cleanest. But even if I look up the cleanest, there's another site called What's on My Food. And when you see that, it will make you turn gray because there are neurotoxins, there are endocrine disruptors. We're killing all our bees. No bees, no food, gang. We got to get this together. So all these toxins are even on the clean fruits and vegetables. So your body really can't handle that. So you need, now, how do you afford all that? You cut out other things from your budget that you really don't need as a beginning. Do you really need to stop at that coffee store on your way into work? And how much are you spending for that? I make organic, sustainable coffee from a guy who is doing organic because he wants all his workers and his villages to live a long time. And believe it or not, when they harvest the Smithsonian protocol so that they don't do that, and he follows all of that. So he is a sustainable coffee that's Cuban roast, and it's absolutely delicious. And I bought stainless steel cups, and I take it with me, and it will stay hot for 12 hours if I wanted to, and it's delicious. I am never going through one of those coffee stores again. So you find money that you don't really need to spend, and then you channel that to, and think about how much you eat out. Believe it or not, most restaurant food is also from Big Food. So pure chemicals. They're buying it in little baggies and they're arranging it on your plate. And it's got all the same crappy chemicals and processed stuff in it that you're buying in a box or in your freezer at home. And none of it is giving your body the code for it to function properly and be healthy. Or your brain, all of that. So if you stop eating out so much and you start cooking, and you don't have to be Julia Child. You can put together a meal really quickly. You steam some vegetables or you roast some vegetables. You get some quality meat. I cut back how much meat I eat because quality meat does cost more. So I never eat more than the palm of my hand. I call myself a pagan, which means I eat paleo, but 70% of what I eat are vegetables because I want all the colors on my plate. My husband eats more meat because he's an O blood type. So in paleo days, they survived because they ate more meat. I don't need it, so I don't eat it. There's ways to do it.
Right. There are ways to do it. And like I said before, it starts with a desire. It starts with an intention. And then as we begin to venture into the journey, right, hopefully hand in hand with somebody like you, then you start to notice things. Like I went to the grocery store and there were these mutant sweet potatoes, weird shaped, massive, weird furry things growing on them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. I was horrified by it.
But on the other side of that, there's a delivery service called Imperfect Produce. There's two. Imperfect Produce, they buy up all of the things with little hiccups. It might have an extra lump on it, or it might be flat on one side. They buy that up. What's inside of it is still beautifully delicious and nutritious. And it's cheaper because they're buying what in retail world is called the IRs, the irregulars. Who cares? You get a lot of food when you buy from them. It's cheaper. It's organic. It doesn't have the chemicals on it. It's still loaded for bear, and they deliver it to your front door. What's not to love about it?
Say that again. Say the name of that again, please.
There are two of them, and you usually will have one or the other. Imperfect Produce.
Okay.
And the other one is called Misfits. They also buy up all that stuff that's a little bit wonky. And if Misfits delivers any place in a state, they will deliver every place in the state. So if you have a Misfits, and you get a list of what's available, and I choose from the organic side of the list. And I've gotten enough vegetables for like $50 to take up my whole stovetop. Wow. You get a lot of food when you buy from them. Now, you're going to get some things that you maybe never tried before, but diversity is really good for you because you need all the diversity reasons. We need to save it for the planet. So I don't want big agriculture telling me I can't get that anymore. So it's saving it that they're buying it from the farmer because the farmer will keep growing it. And then diversity is what creates all of the synergy of health in our body. So let's say cauliflower comes in white, orange, green, and purple. You want to buy all four at some time during the month because they each have they all have the main gifts the cauliflower has, but each color has a little bit different gift, and all that feeds health. And they actually shoot darts at things like cancer and heart disease. They are active little guys that will heal your body from the inside out, which is why it's called the pharmacy, Pharmacy. Now, your doctors don't know it because they learn nothing about nutrition in medical school. And B, pharmaceutical company is their main source of information. So the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know that. But if you start eating diversity and you start eating all the colors, and I have a whole chart of different fruits and vegetables and what's in them. I have a whole list of things that'll help somebody if they get cancer, because I'm at the age where girlfriends are coming up with breast cancer. So I whip off this list of them, start eating all of this, because that will help you build resistance and immunity inside your body. And the number one thing, by the way, that cancer loves is sugar.
Sugar.
Cancer eats sugar. And what we don't know is we make cancer cells every day, but they don't take hold in the body necessarily, especially if we're eating all the right things. They have no place to grow. So they go right back out of the body.
Yeah. So now in your world, because there was a thing back in the, I don't know, maybe the 80s or 90s where you didn't mix certain fruits with vegetables. Now, does that hold true in your world, or are you like a mix and match girl?
I'm a mix and match girl. My naturopath doesn't want me to eat fruit on top of my protein, my main meats. He wants there to be 3 hours between. I don't pay any attention to it because I live on what my body tells me. I didn't listen to my body for years. So I have a conversation every morning with my body, and I have several conversations during the day. If my body goes, I don't feel so hot, I don't do that again. But when I get up in the morning, I tell myself I love me, because self-love is what leads to healthy habits. Exactly. I ask my body, how does it feel? And then I get quiet and I listen to it, because for years I didn't pay any attention to it. Then I ask my body, what do you need from me? Now, why do I do this? My body is unbelievably smart, and I had no idea. Exactly. So I ask the questions and I get quiet and I let it answer, and it answers in symptoms. And believe it or not, if you have the symptom, you're already past the point where you ought to be of no return. That symptom is telling you you need to react now. And then the last question I ask myself is, what will make you happy today?
I love that.
Because then I go out and I do it. And then I list 3 things I'm grateful for, and I start my day. But I have that conversation every morning because I'm never going back to being in bed and having everything in my body hurt. Those days are gone. And I'm 74. And I feel better than I did in my 50s.
You're amazing. You're amazing. And your skin is just incredible.
And my doctor teases me I'm going backwards. My functional doctor, she said every time she sees me, I'm getting younger. I like the sound of that.
And you know what? Let's talk a little bit about the vanity of it before we close. First of all, I just want to go back for a minute, because I can't give enough space to what you just said, because it deserves everything. To wake up in the morning and go, body, I love you. You know, what do you desire today? And then not go make a coffee with 4 sugars in it. Sit and be present, right? That's the beginning.
And listen.
Of listening.
And hear it.
Yes. So the thing that I've noticed a lot, besides, not having red knuckles and all of that, is that the tone of my skin is changing. Can you talk about that and why that happens?
Well, skin, no matter what's going on with your skin, it's an inside job. It starts in your gut. So whether you're getting wrinkles or you're getting acne, or you have psoriasis or eczema, that all starts in your gut. Now, what will stop it from starting in your gut? Eating the right foods. Yeah. And there is actually a vagus nerve, or vagal nerve, I think they call it, that goes right from your gut to every organ in your body and up to your brain. So what you put in your gut is incredibly important to your skin and your health everywhere throughout your body. So if you get up and you're all puffy, guess what? That's inflammation. If you start to notice you're aging really quickly, I'm kind of happy with how few wrinkles I have at 74. Yes. So that's because I'm eating well. And I'm eating lots of berries and things that are really good for my skin, because they're slightly sweet, but they're not sweet. They don't tip my blood sugar at all. They're delicious. Even when I have company, I will serve them fresh berries, and I whip coconut cream. And everybody who comes to my house for dinner goes, this meal was healthy. I make all kinds of crazy things. I have 18 food sensitivities. So it's not easy for me to, I've done an exchange list. I can take any recipe and make it so I can eat it. But when people come to my house for dinner, they're going, what is this? Well, that's cauliflower rice. It's
Wow. Yum.
It's
Yum.
cauliflower rice, and it will take on any flavor that you want. I've made it
Yeah.
Moroccan with saffron, and
Uh,
raisins and almonds. I've made it Greek with
uh,
oregano and different seasonings. I've made it Italian with Italian
yeah.
seasonings. I use all organic seasonings, and your spices are just as important for your diversity as the
Yeah.
food that you're eating. So eat them up, eat them all
Yes.
for you.
Yes. Oh,
I don't grow my own food because I'm afraid if I got down, I might not get back up. But I do grow all my own herbs, and I love having all of them in my garden.
wow. I love
So
that. I
you
love
get
that.
into it, and then it tastes good. You feel good. You start to look good. And so
Yeah,
what's not to keep going?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I have a client who, of course, now is my friend. She came to me loaded with inflammation, and and she was falling, and she didn't know why. All of a sudden, she's falling downstairs. She came to me. She had a big gash on her head. She's just like falling, and now she can do push-ups and dips, and she's getting a pull-up bar. But she began together. We worked together physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and she discovered the sugar relation for her, and began working on that. And then little by little, we began working on her balance and her
Don't do it all at once. You do it one step at a time.
exactly.
At the
But
end
my
of the year,
point
you
is,
look back and go, "Wow, look at what I did this year."
exactly, and she's 70 something,
Yep.
so my point is, just begin. Okay, just begin. You're talking to two people here who were in bed. I was in bed for 2 years. I couldn't get out of bed. So we know what it's like to get on that train of feeling so bad you need 4 cups of coffee, then you need something sweet because you're so uncomfortable, and you're trying to medicate
Yeah, you get on
yourself
the
with
seesaw.
all of the wrong things. Yeah. So I just, if I could implore you guys to go to Cheryl's website, get on her newsletter, make a call with Cheryl. And if you're really serious, if you're really ready to get healthy, my God, work with her. Absolutely. I mean,
My class starts next week. You can
Tell
take
me
it either on
about that.
Thursday. You can take it on Thursday or Saturday. It's 5 weeks, but it's really 4 weeks of being on the Break the Addiction. The first week is just orientation. I give you all the rules of what you have to do. You got to get all that bad food out of your house. And then we meet generally for about an hour and a half once a week. And I teach you everything. I teach you how to read labels. I teach you when to put it back on the shelf because, for God's sake, you don't want it in your body. We go even a little bit into mindset and habits. We start in the beginning by deciding what's your why for wanting to do this. Because if your why is strong enough, it's easier to stick with it. My why is I'm not giving up feeling this good anymore. So, but everybody's got a different why. And I have, I think, a set of 20 different cards you can choose from. And if you don't like my cards, call me and we'll make up one just for you. But you put that on your refrigerator door and on your mirror, and that's where you start. You get all the bad stuff out, and then you have a shopping list of what you're allowed to eat, and you go get that, and you put it eye level in the refrigerator, and you get a big basket and put all your approved snacks on the counter. You're not going to starve. You're going to eat lots of yummy, good, healthy food. Yes. And when you come out at the end of the 4 weeks, people can't get over that their knees aren't bothering them anymore. Their sciatica has relaxed. They don't have headaches all the time anymore. Yeah. You start now. You're not completely cured of whatever went wrong for all those years you got there, but you feel the difference. And my deal is, if you take the class once, and it's very affordable, it's in my store. If you take the class once, if you want a refresher, you take it again, and I don't charge you. And there's a big advantage of that because newbies learn from the people who've been through it. who all laugh when they call from the grocery store and want to know if they can buy something because they used to do that and they don't anymore. But they help the newbies. And then there's so much information in the class, it reinforces it so that then generally they can go and sustain it and win. I teach you how to eat out at restaurants. I teach you how to go to other people's houses for dinner because those have to be non-negotiable.
Exactly.
And, I figured out that being social has nothing to do with what I put in my mouth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes.
Somebody calls me and says that we want you and your husband to come for dinner. I say, I don't want you to feel bad, but we're going to bring our own food because we're coming because we're excited to get to know you better. And I'll bring enough for however many guests you have. But I have learned that I bring enough for them and I bring a separate container for me because the first time I did it, my dish disappeared and I didn't get any.
Oh my goodness, I believe it.
Just because you eat healthy does not mean you don't eat yummy. That's why I started doing it from my rainbow files every day with a recipe because it should appeal to all of you, to your eyes, your body, your taste buds, everything.
Yeah. And the other thing that I can't stress enough that I love about what you're doing is that you are available, because it's not an easy thing and it's going to be, it's not when the emotion hits, it's not if emotion hits, it's when, and you're there to help get through those bumpy parts. And that's amazing.
And if you write to me, we'll jump on a Zoom at any time. I am I call myself batshit crazy about health because when I lost it, man, I did not want to lose it again. So if you need me, I will find a time to make myself available and we'll walk through it. So a lot of the people who have been through my classes have become lifelong friends. And I get unbelievable testimonials because they don't think it's going to work. And in the beginning, they're almost positive it's not going to work. One friend who I've known forever said she was sure she was going to know everything when she took the class. And boy, was she wrong. Because there's so much to know, but it's not hard to implement once you know it. Exactly. So don't get frightened by that. You'll get a lot of information. And then if you have to, you take the class again and then it sets and it becomes sustainable. I go out to eat all the time, but I vet the restaurant before we go. And I talk to the chef before I go. I make sure he can feed me before I walk in.
I love it. And when does this new class begin, Cheryl? Say it again.
I begin, there are 2 dates next week, Thursday and Saturday. They're Thursday at 4:00 and Saturday at 1. You can go to either session or both. Sometimes people go twice because I want to hear it again.
Awesome.
There are tapes. So there's a replay. You get my full PowerPoint slides because I want you to have access to all the information. And then if you need me in between, you write to me and we jump on a call together. I am so invested that this class should be taken by every American out there that I'll do whatever I can in my power to make it work.
Yeah, what a you're such a true pioneer and you're a healer, Cheryl. You're healing America. Thank you for what you do. I'm going to go check out your class. One more time, tell people how to get to your website because they probably want to sign up.
It's Cheryl with a C, CHERYLM, which is for Meyer, my last name. So Cheryl M Health. And then Muse, MUSE, because I want to inspire everyone to change and have healthy habits. So it's CherylMHealthMuse.com. If you want to write to me, it's CherylMHealthMuse@gmail.com. There's a ton of information on my website. I even did 2 videos on what big food has done to our food that are worth listening to. It was all done by Philip Morris, who bought up all the big food companies, and they used the cigarette playbook to hook us. So we are literally all hooked. And it's appalling. And they make all of the Weight Watcher, Jenny, Craig, and Nutrisystem food too. And when they sold off their main interest, what they failed to tell us is they sold off the largest percentage of ownership, but they kept the controlling interest. So they still keep it all hooked. They're just doing it from afar.
Amazing. Well, you are just brilliant, Cheryl, and I just love everything that you're doing. And I'm going to go sign up for your class because I really want
Thank you. I would love that.
I really want to learn everything that you have. And you know, for you who may be thinking of beginning, you know, it's just one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And then if you outgrow Cheryl, well, then the next level is going to rise up before you, you know, and you're just going to keep going and going until you have it down pat and you have the best health and the best life.
And the bottom line is, I want each of us to own our own body. Yes. Don't let anybody, my conventional doctor said, you're going to be on steroids the rest of your life, but there's nothing wrong with you. I said, why would I go on steroids if there's nothing wrong with me? But don't believe somebody when they say possible or that you're going to feel lousy for the rest of your life, because that is not true. Nothing is impossible. If you own it and you dig in, or you hire somebody like me to help you find your puzzle pieces, you can win at this. And I don't care if it's cancer or heart, fibromyalgia like me, or any of the other chronic illnesses. I have completely reversed the fatty liver. I have brought my diabetes almost out the bottom to not existing. That it didn't happen overnight, but it's all part of how great I feel today at 74. And I don't just want to grow old. And I don't want to grow old and take pills. I want to grow old and feel great. I want to go down that path, dancing all the way to the end. So come join me, because it's possible.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm going to have you on again in the very near future, because I just love, you have so much to share with us. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, Mac. I'll see you Tuesday night. Bye. If you join us for our 8 p.m. show. If not, I'll see you right here next Friday, 7:30. Much love, everybody. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.